Hello everyone and welcome back to Spirit and Strategy, the business growth podcast for spiritual entrepreneurs and spiritual practitioners. I am Lola, the reality priestess. I am a spiritual teacher, award-winning management consultant of nearly 17 years. I've been on the spiritual path for nearly 30 years, and I'm really here to help you make more money so that you can live a life that is in alignment with your destiny and you can do the work that you are called here to do. I'm incredibly passionate about this work. I was in two minds about jumping on today because I'm still tired. I don't know when this tiredness ends. My baby is small, and look, the reality is life is lifing very much at the moment, which is why I started a podcast. I don't have great skin, I don't have a lot of makeup on, and it takes a lot for me to come on here and just show my face. So I want you guys to know that and be kind. There is something about, there's a lot of lifestyle marketing in this industry, shall I say, and all of it is fake, all of it. Because I'm just a real person with a real life and family going about my day. And, I'm not spending my money on designer clothes and tons of makeup and all of the things. Like, my priorities are elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? And everyone else who I know that is at this level, that is a real business owner, they're sort of like me. So I just want to share that with you. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Today is going to be a little bit different because I am going to be talking on a topic that was initially downloaded to me over a year ago, and I ran a training on maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and I never recorded it. So the topic is the Great Financial Awakening, and it is a movement. It is a movement because what Spirit had me to understand was that spiritual people are often not yet awake to money. So even though you've been through a spiritual awakening, I would say they are comfortable with you being awake to spiritual reality, but not to financial reality. So I want to talk a bit about that. And we'll see how it goes because it's sort of a different format. The other reason why I wanted to talk to you guys about that today is I am recording this the day after Trump has announced various different things to do with tariffs, and the world is burning. And if you are not a business person or keep up with business news and economic news, you might just not be fully aware of what is going on. But I advise corporate clients as well, and so this is very, very much front of mind. I'm not going to be getting into the technicalities of that, but I will say that now more than ever, you really need to be aware of what is going on in the world, how it might impact you so that you can adequately prepare for it. And this is what financial awakening is about. It's understanding the material financial reality and also the spiritual financial realities, and how they influence each other. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about today. Why they are keeping you asleep when it comes to money, the surprising techniques they use to do so, the true nature of money, and how to make more money in 2025 as a spiritual practitioner. So, if you have any questions and you want me to follow up with anything, leave me a comment or send me a DM. I'm very excited and interested to hear from you. So let's talk a little bit about the state of the union, right? Being wealthy, becoming wealthy is like very, very simple on paper, right? It's just about making as much money as you can, spending as little as you can get away with, right? It's an equation. And to me, I would say this is about monetization and then money management. Monetization is about wealth creation, making money, being able to monetize, sell something of value. And then money management is what it is, right? It's how to manage the money that comes in. This is the equation. That's it. That's all there is, right? However, I asked a question on Threads before I did this training, as I say, months ago. And 63% of you guys said that you made less money after your spiritual awakening. Isn't that interesting? And in general, I would say spiritual people seem to make less money than non-spiritual people overall. And that might be a perception, but I'll tell you something. I have a personal story around this type of thing, right? I grew up in a household where it was an extremely spiritual household, right? Even though it was in a different paradigm to the spirituality I probably now identify with. But it was very spiritual. And it was spiritual to the point of not being very practical. And that made me almost reject spirituality because I wanted to make something of myself. I wanted to create businesses. I wanted an illustrious corporate career. And so when I started to go to school for business and then enter into a business career and start businesses of my own, I really understood that you can be, I guess the word that I'm looking for is naive when it comes to money, and in one sense overcomplicate it. So I think spirituality and money very much go hand to hand, otherwise I wouldn't be teaching it the way that I do. But I do think there is a danger that spiritual people over-spiritualize money, and I have not seen that result in good outcomes. Yeah. So this isn't a new phenomenon, right? This idea that the relationship between spirituality and spiritual people and money doesn't seem to be good, right? It doesn't seem to be good. And now we need much more money than we used to, right? Just to keep ourselves afloat, right? It's almost like we are running in just to stay in place. Okay, and so this is why I really urge us to get to grips with this topic, right? So this is the reality of many spiritual people that I know. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They have an uneasy relationship with wealth, particularly with the idea that you can be good and wealthy. Like this is a big issue, and it always has been, but it's particularly big now. They are struggling or burned out in business, or they're struggling to navigate the corporate matrix, right? If they're working in sort of a traditional corporate career, especially after they have awakened, they do not know how to be here anymore, right? And that makes sense because many times when we are awakening, we are becoming aware of a reality in a deeper way. We're becoming aware of spiritual reality, and it kind of makes it hard for us to keep our feet on the ground. And that is really what you need when it comes to making money and to keeping it, right? We're also giving away more than we have, and often find ourselves in this rescuer dynamic, right? Where we are trying to rescue others, or we feel like we need to be rescued. And this is largely due to trauma, and trauma that we've experienced in our upbringings. So as a result, you have a number of poor financial decisions being made one after the other. And the thing that really gets to me is that a number of these poor financial decisions are being blamed on spirit. Spirit told me to do this. God told me to do this. My intuition told me, right? And we are ending up in financially precarious situations, lots of debt, etc. So while I would say many spiritual folk are experiencing the power of manifestation and believe in it, the manifestations are generally low level, particularly when it comes to money, and they're not life-changing in any way or sustainable, right? So I would say that this is a time more than ever that we need to get to grips with this, right? And I've talked about the context behind why I'm recording this today. Now, the question that I really had to sit down and ask myself, and I really did have a conversation with Spirit to really dig down deep into this, which is we have had generations, probably even decades, definitely decades if not longer, of prosperity preaching manifestation teaching, coaching, books have been written about money. We've had all of this for so long, and yet the situation amongst our people, if you like, is essentially the same. And you have to ask yourself, or at least I did, is this by accident or is it by design? And this is what my spirit team let me know. They don't mind you waking up as long as you are still sleeping when it comes to money. They don't mind you waking up as long as you are still asleep when it comes to money. I want you to think about that. So you might be wondering, why does any of this matter anyway, right? And this is the crux. I want you to pay attention to this, because this is the center of everything that I do here, the work that I do and why I do it. The reason this is important is because economic insecurity keeps you distracted from purpose. It keeps you distracted from destiny, and destiny is what will change the game. If we are all collectively in alignment with our destinies, the things that we decided before we got here to do, the changes we decided we wanted to make to improve the quality of life of everybody, if we were aligned, truly aligned, that would change the game. In fact, you don't even really need everyone to be aligned. You need a significant minority who are very, very focused on achieving their destinies, and they don't want that to be the case, okay? So, you can think of some examples, right? People who are here to start charities, people who are here to be more present parents with their children, innovating new systems, new business models, medicine, new ways of powering our world, right, that don't harm the planet. All of these things are sitting in someone's destiny, and because they are distracted by financial insecurity, they are not paying attention to the things that they are meant to do to literally change this world. And this is why I do this work. So when you don't have money, right, you are quite low down in the form of power and influence in society, right? And you need influence if you're going to make the level of change that I'm sort of talking about. So imagine what a world would be like if we had financial security combined with consciousness. Just imagine what it would be like. Yeah? So what they really want is to either keep you hopeless or delusional. Hopeless, it's like you don't think you can improve your situation, and because you think you cannot improve it, you do nothing about it. And delusional is to think you can do something about it, but to do all of the wrong actions to get there. Either way, the outcome is the same, which is that you are distracted from the things that will actually reliably create financial security for you. Okay. So, how does this play out? I think none of this will be surprising, right? I think in the spiritual community in particular, we've seen so many abuses of money, so many abuses of spiritual power, that we don't even trust people who talk about spirituality and money together, and I get it, right? I think this is one of the psyops. This is one of the psyops, right? That we end up hating spiritual leaders. We bury our head in the sand and do nothing. We have this narrative that spiritual work should be accessible for free. We don't pursue real financial education. We just hope and we wish. It's like a myriad of different things along a spectrum of hopelessness, delusion, of not enough trust, too much trust, And none of that is healthy. So where do I want to go next? I want you to see that either side of the coin is the same, and it is sponsored by the same powerful energies to keep you away from really knowing how to make and have money, because they do not want to share the power with you. Now, when I did this training a few months ago, I was a little bit nervous about sharing this, because if you've not thought about this before, it can be quite shocking to the system. You've gone through this entire process of awakening. You now know so much more about the world, the idea of a matrix, this type of thing. And you feel like you've got it. And yet you are in the same or in a worse financial position than before you knew all of these things. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, very much. But a little bit of paranoia and conspiracy, I think, isn't a bad thing, right? Especially when it comes to things like this. So you might be now asking at this point, who are they? Who are the they, right? And I want to first say who they are not. I'm not necessarily talking about the elites. I'm not necessarily talking about the 1%. I'm not necessarily even talking about a colonizing alien race, the reptilians or whatever, right? I know, I know some people like to focus on those things. I am not talking about that. I'm talking about something very much broader, because these individual groupings are not good ways to identify the them. They are any person, entity, or system that benefits from your continued powerlessness. They are any person, entity, or system that benefits from your continued powerlessness. You are their food, right? And they are the predator. So there are lots of examples of this. This could be credit cards. This can be spiritual leaders. This could be multi-level marketing schemes. It could be mega pastors, gurus, those selling get-rich-quick schemes. It could be crypto, right? It all depends, right? This is not an exhaustive list, and this is not... You've got to listen to this message with nuance. It can be anything if it is making you powerless and keeping you powerless. So what you need to look for is whether there is an absence of genuine interest in helping you, because if they do help you, you will leave them and they need you. They are financial predators, right? And it's our duty to understand this and to know what's up. If we're going to achieve what we came here to do, we need to step into our purpose. We need all of our power, and that includes money. Money is one of the most potent forms of power there is in this 3D reality, right? Spirit says we have not completely awakened if we are still leaving our power in the hands of others. We cannot change a system that we do not yet understand, okay? So what I've talked about so far is why they are keeping you asleep when it comes to money and how they do that, right? And now I want to talk a little bit about what is the true nature of money. So money is really a store of energy or value for the purposes of exchange. And although many people say money is a spiritual idea, I get what they mean. I do think it is a spiritual concept, but money really exists only here in the third dimension, okay? It's a representation of something else. It's a representation of a spiritual concept, but in and of itself, it's not spiritual, right? And because it's a third dimensional concept, it is subject to 3D rules. And this is something I think that many spiritual people struggle to understand. Money is not a disembodied energy. It's completely embodied. It is in people. So a really good way of thinking about this is that if people didn't have skills, talents, the ability to do things, right, there would actually be nothing to exchange for money. If you just had a suitcase full of notes but nothing to buy, that money doesn't have any value. And that's what I mean, that money isn't a disembodied energy. It's a representation of something else. It's a representation of the value that is contained within people. It's us that carry the energy. It's us that hold the value. And you know, it's like the Matrix, I'm sure everyone has seen, but you know how they use the people as batteries. It's like that is getting to the idea, right? We are the ones that hold the value, and money is just a representation of it. Okay. So if you are spiritually bypassing money, that is why money is passing you by. And we want to get over that. We want to get past that, right? So if you're going to make more money this year, I need you to understand that that money is not going to drop on your head from the sky, although it could do. That money is going to come from and through other people. Other human beings are the ones that will give you that money. It will have to come through other people. And they will only give you money if you give them something that they value. It's very, very simple, right? Very simple. So, I said at the beginning that becoming wealthy is simple. It's just about monetization and money management. So how do you monetize as a spiritual person, right? You monetize your destiny through creativity, through service to others, and understanding the value formula. Now, I have many value formulas, but I'm going to share one in this particular episode so that you can understand a little bit more about what we mean by value, right? But first, we need to understand our destiny and what we mean by that term, which I've talked about before. There are so many ways to describe it, but for the purposes of this episode, I'm going to get you to think about your destiny as something that you come here to do, to learn, or to share in order that you might become, right? We're on this journey of becoming, and we need to do something, learn something, and share something in order to become that thing, right? So for me, destiny really comprises your story, your skills, your self-concept, and who you serve, yeah? What you have the potential to become great at. Your destiny is meant to provide for you, but sometimes we forget the sharing part, yeah? And this is the thing I find so interesting about spiritual people, is that we have a natural desire to serve others, but so many of us have been traumatized and taken advantage of that when we wake up, we don't want to serve anyone anymore, and we don't even realize we feel this way. We are hiding and hoarding our talents to ourselves because we don't want to be taken advantage of. We think about all of the things that we deserve because our self-esteem starts to come online and we stop becoming people pleasers, and then we can unconsciously become very self-centered. Now, some of that is necessary, but if you are going to make money from other people, you need to be in the energy of service. You need to have something to give. It can't just be about what you want to take. And so this is something I really want you to take away. You need to understand how to go from burnout, how to go from trauma, how to go from people pleasing to service. You need to go from nursing your own wounds and tending your own needs to service. Right? This is how you unlock money. This is how you activate the value exchange on a spiritual level, but on a very physical, tangible level as well, right? If you're solving real problems, you will get paid. That should be a spiritual law in and of itself, right? So solving problems isn't enough, right? Lots of people work hard and solve problems but don't get paid. So why is this? Why is this? And this is where the value formula comes in. The value formula determines what you get paid. It's why bankers are paid more than teachers, even though we don't think that's fair. But we need to master it. So this is the value formula. It is inherent demand for a skill or resource. It's also how many other people can do it. It's your ability to negotiate, and the context, the environment, or the niche that you're in. It's all of those things combined together, right? And if you apply this formula to the area that you work in, you'll be interested in what it tells you. So let me just give you a little recap of what it is. The things that comprise your value. It's the inherent demand for something. It's how many other people can do that thing or have that thing. Yeah? So this is like demand and supply. It's your ability to negotiate, whether collectively or on your own, and it's the context or environment or the niche that you're operating in. So what's a good example for this, right? I always like the example of sort of microeconomies or Like, why, for example, are things more expensive in the airport or at a festival? Because the supply and the demand is off, and you don't want to drive miles and miles and miles to get a can of Coke. So there you can see demand is high, supply is low, and the ability of the person who is running the stand or the store to negotiate, they've decided a price. They could have gone with a lower price, but they decided not to because they are negotiating with you, right, by setting a price. So that's kind of what I mean. The environment in that example would be the festival or the airport or wherever it is, right? So what are some practical ways that you can apply this formula, think about this formula, and start thinking about how you can increase your value and your perceived value to others? And this is now, we're into the practical part of this, right? What do you do with all of this information I've been giving you on the Great Financial Awakening? Here are some ideas. You can learn a new in-demand skill or solve a new in-demand problem. You can choose hard things to focus on, things with high entry barriers. And this is like, people kind of bristle a little bit at this, but the reality is, if something is hard and not many people can do it, but it's in demand, most people are not going to try and do it. So if you can be a person who's like, I run towards difficult things instead of run away from them, A, those difficult things will become easy for you, but B, you are going to be able to negotiate and name your price. Another thing you can do is niche down to a very specific problem or community, which also reduces competition and increases the chance of you being a leader in that area. You can become ultra visible, which improves the perception people have of you, and it improves your ability to negotiate because you are being seen as the leader. You can move to a location or a country, a city, or an industry where your skill is in greater demand. And you can learn to negotiate. You can learn to sell, and you can learn to persuade, right? So these are some things that you can think about. And I will probably just say this, right, as I'm wrapping up, because there's so many other things I can talk about, and I think I will do some more videos on the Great Financial Awakening. But I really want you to think about the context that we are operating in and whether you have your head in the sand when it comes to money. This is not the time to have your head in the sand. Spirit is calling us to become conscious, to increase our consciousness, our awareness, and our understanding of money on a very three-dimensional basis, right? And you need to listen to that call if you are going to survive this, if you are going to thrive in this, if you are going to be able to do the work you are called to do. This is a prerequisite and a requirement. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you would like more personal consultation on your specific business, I have 3 different VIP days, one to help you create your offer, one to help you create your organic messaging, and one to help you become fully booked through broad business strategy. You can visit my website to find out more information. Until next time, stay strategic, stay aligned.